Shopify is like renting an apartment or renting a house. WooCommerce is like owning the house, right? On Shopify, you bring your furniture and your appliances or your TVs, and you're just ready to live there. On WooCommerce, you get the ability to do whatever you want to the place, do whatever you want to the house.
Welcome to the Bright Commerce Podcast. All right, welcome back to the Bright Commerce Podcast. I'm your host, Judd Dunagan with Carlos Caneja, and we are on episode 27 doing an AMA part 2, which is real questions from e-commerce merchants. So how you doing today, Carlos?
Doing all right, man. I enjoyed that AMA last time. I'm glad we're doing a part 2.
Yeah. So today, I enjoyed it really a lot as well. These are going to be real questions we got from some e-commerce founders, marketers, and store owners, that have reached out to us to review some of that info.
Yeah, all this AMA stuff comes from discovery calls, client meetings, internal Slack messages, and even late night texts from like customers, or entrepreneurs that we have as customers.
5 a.m. meetings, security incidents, everything that you can think of. I think, we have some knowledge here. So today we're going to tackle things like AI, Shopify versus Woo, conversion rates, traffic strategies, scaling e-commerce brands, marketing, you name it. So going into, I'll let you go.
All right, Jed. So I'm going to dive in with the first question. Everyone's talking AI right now. How should e-commerce brands actually be using AI today?
Great question. I think AI is not some magic button. Particularly, I would say Sonnet. He's one of the biggest lying bastards that I have to deal with when it comes to Claude. His cousin, Opus, tends to be a little bit more honest, but he's a little more dumb. So I think when using AI, you have to be very, very careful in everything you do and check everything. Because as you read, when it starts to say what it's doing, it's like saying, okay, I'm thinking. You'll see how it's already not doing the right thing, it's thinking about the right things. Because I stop it all the time and say, hey, wait a minute. No, don't do that. Let's do that. You got to do this instead. Let's stay on target. So with AI, if you let it just run, it's gonna be a bit of an issue. But where we see AI helping the most right now is, writing product descriptions, for example. So if you have a website that already has product descriptions on there and you want to improve them, or you want to make them a little more SEO savvy, you literally can send a link from your website and it would write all of those product descriptions in one document generated for you. So you would check. Same for generating ad copy, analyzing customer data, customer support automation, which there's a ton there. I know, Carlos, you got some key points on there, but I think the big opportunity is going to be speed. A brand uses AI well, but it can produce 10 times faster, whether it be marketing, coding. Actually, I dare to say 100 times faster. So one thing I always say, and I say this to my team, which we just started doing in Slack, I have like a little, kind of a suggestion box in Slack. If you have a problem during the day, ask yourself if AI can solve it. And that's what we do all day long in Slack. Like, can AI solve this? Because there's been many instances where I was doing something over and over again, and I'm like, why am I doing this still? And I asked Claude, can you do this and automate, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know, Claude has taken care of it, and probably 20 hours of time per month has just been eliminated off my chest. So it's a good opportunity, I think, now to jump into it.
Yeah, I think, just to kind of compliment or discuss store owners, it's changing the game in terms of writing copy, writing product descriptions, in terms of SEO, all your metadata. It just saves so much time with it.
Yeah.
Before it was just like brain damage to go through all of it. Now it's just like somewhat automated. And now with WordPress and Woo releasing the MCP model, you're going to be able to just do it all through the CLI. You're going to be able to just say, hey, optimize all my products for SEO. Make sure they're all optimized and output what you're changing so I can see it and review it. So it's what was hours of work for a fairly large catalog now down to like minutes. Also on the customer side, we're going to start seeing things like not just like product recommendations on like, old or like legacy logic, now you're going to start seeing like AI product recommendations, right? AI is going to be able to look at your product descriptions and start bundling up products that it can pitch to your customers or your web visitors.
Great little thing on that one. I wanted just to mention, we have a rare book dealer that does one of a kind products, right?
Yeah.
And they have consistent, buyers of rare books, customers. And that's the first thing that they've even mentioned us. They want an AI product recommendation, the one that's very into their system and pack of those users. So yeah, that's going to be a huge one. I like that's a good point.
Yeah, that's gonna change. It's gonna change e-com. It's gonna change the user experience or the shopper experience on e-com, right?
So
Think about it. These agents are gonna know how much time you're browsing on certain product pages and bring them up later on, recommend them later on, or say, hey, we noticed you like this. You may also like that. On small stores that have small catalogs, you can kind of do that today manually, right? It's for the large catalogs where it becomes really, really challenging because it's a lot of hands-on to basically train your store to do that. You ultimately have to do it via backend configuration or whatever, some kind of custom script that you may develop. The AI agent will be able to do it all for you basically. It'll just kind of self-optimize, which is great.
yeah. Well, I think it's a good segue to the next point, and that would be another question that was asked. Not necessarily AI, but when it comes down to it, I mean it's a question we always ask, like WooCommerce versus Shopify. So I think we've argued before and past not argue, debate it on past podcasts with this. And you get it every, probably once a week, you have someone ask that, right? Because they're asking, which platform should I be on? Which should be WooCommerce or Shopify? So what's your thoughts and take on?
Shopify is like renting an apartment or renting a house. WooCommerce is like owning the house, right? On Shopify, you bring your furniture and your appliances or your TVs, and you're just ready to live there. On WooCommerce, you get the ability to do whatever you want to the place, do whatever you want to the house. Shopify is an amazing turnkey, get ready, up and running for ecom. But then once you start to customize things based on customer needs or service needs, that's when you start to hit a ceiling. Also, the checkout aspect of it, there's not a lot you can do there. And for some customers, that becomes a problem.
Real quick there, I think on some of those, Shopify has that base product, but also has Shopify Plus. So I think before we jump into some of the complexities of how Shopify might not work with WooCommerce, give us a little bit about Shopify Plus and a standard plan and how that differs real quick.
I mean, the big thing with Shopify Plus is in terms of functionality, it's the whole B2B functionality that you get, which is natively built in. If you do use Shopify Basic or Classic, you have to rely on plugins. And they've done a great job so far on the wholesale enterprise side, but it still needs a little bit more time to bake. Another big plus is that you get dramatically reduced merchant rates. It's not really recommended unless you're doing, I think it's about $1 million plus a year on revenue. That's when Shopify recommends it. So it's not for everybody. It's the price tag that's scary to most merchants. If somebody's just looking to start out on e-com and they want to do wholesale, I just straight up tell them to go to Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm on the fence a bit, on certain cases, like what I have found that's been a little bit, well, I guess first, I think Pressable, we talked about Pressable for WooCommerce as a great hosting option. I think that was a great solve on WooCommerce's part to provide a good hosting that is really supported by and held up by Automatic. And that's our sole focus is I believe WordPress and WooCommerce. So I think that was a great move. I think with Shopify, and maybe you could help me on this because this is a question I personally had, is that ADA compliance, CI compliance, security. What are your thoughts with those three things between WooCommerce and Shopify? Does Shopify perform a little bit better? Like, it takes less risk off of an agency as well as the shop owner. Like, can we go through that a little bit? Because I'm interested to get your side of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. So we can start with ADA compliance. I mean, you can. I mean, and on Shopify, you control the presentation layer, so there's no issues there in terms of coding things with WCAG standards. You also have the ability to install ADA widgets from third parties like Accessibility or Userway.
Are you still responsible for the ADA though? Like as a store owner, just because it's on Shopify doesn't mean you're covered with ADA compliance. How does that I want to know. That's something that came up in my head. I'm like, I want to know if in the terms and conditions, just know as a store owner, you're still responsible for ADA compliance, even though you're on Shopify. Because I'm finding like as I'm getting into more and more stores and more stuff and the legality of things, there's risks that are on both sides, the agency as well as the store owner. And then the platform itself is like, well, you could use our platform, but you're responsible for all of this. And I think it's important for people to understand that.
The platform is definitely capable of meeting like all WCAG standards, right? So I want to say it's ultimately up to the store owner. I don't think Shopify any, maybe there's some liability there. I don't know. I haven't heard of any if there is.
Yeah, it's not. It actually, it says no theme is 100% ADA compliant. So we had a show with Colin from Accessibility. I think something to consider. You need to be ADA compliant with both platforms. There is no one is better than the other. Make sure you do the due diligence.
Yeah. So I mean, I think maybe you just read the AI overview that says no theme is 100% ADA compliant. It's so just to be clear, when you install a theme in Shopify, you're getting a bare bones theme. It's still up to you to build the content on top of it, right? So like think of color contrast as an example. If you put black on black or black on brown, the theme developer basically has no power over what you do, right? But with that being said too, you do have the ability to customize these themes. You do get access to the liquid code. So it's not like that's taken away by any means. There's still full access to it. So it's ultimately up to you or the agency that you hire or whoever you hire to make your site ADA compatible. But obviously having the widget doesn't kill it either. It doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, after that show with Colin, I basically just tell everybody like, this is up to you. Like this is your. You can't even. There's no way to guarantee you to be ADA compliant without a third party tool like this, and that does that. But yeah, let's go back a bit. So,
Well, yeah, like two more points. Yeah, two more points, right? The other one was security.
yeah, so well, security. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It was security, and what was the third one? What was the third point?
So ADA compliance, security, and then the customization between the two. Let's just pick that as a third. So like when you, like you were talking about how Shopify Plus and Shopify Regular, what are the difference, because you have access to certain things. So, when you talked about checkout, things like that, what you can customize, what you can't.
I got you. Yeah. So on the security side, I can say this. I can say that generally speaking, let's just say this. Out of the box, Shopify is just way more secure than Woo. I mean, it's a hosted environment. It's like fully controlled by the provider. There's not much that you do security wise, fortify that application. That's all on them. We've never had a customer get hacked with any like software exploits. We've had customers get their stores hijacked. And in the last few years,
Brute force attack, like password attack, brute force
no,
kind of.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously that yeah. I mean now Shopify is like forcing 2FA, so that doesn't work anymore. But even as an agency, you can no longer request access to a store randomly. You have to ask for a PIN code. The store owner has to give you that PIN code. You then request the access, and then they have to approve you. So you can't even request access without getting that PIN code. And that's like pretty much Shopify policy now. Because before, anyone would just ask for access to a store. There are ways to figure out the Shopify URL for a store. You can go on your partner dashboard and actually request access. And, people don't know any better sometimes. They'll just accept things. They don't understand it. They don't read. They'll just accept. Also, one thing they just recently did to lock things down even more was if you request access to a store and there's no activity for more than like 90 days, I think it is, they automatically suspend your access to the store, which is smart too on Shopify side. So I think that was like probably the biggest vulnerability on Shopify. Not so much like code issues or code vulnerabilities. It's more like what do they call it? Like social engineering.
I learned a couple lessons lately with management of e-commerce sites and giving so much control or too much control to the customer while still trying to be responsible for the site. They could be their own worst enemy. They can install.
And yeah, it comes down to education. Look, it happens on Meta too. I mean, the scam on Meta, and I don't know how some of these hackers do it. The minute you launch a campaign that has X amount of spend, you start getting notifications from quote unquote Meta.
We literally caught someone impersonating me in emails from a Gmail account to all of our customers because they probably looked at some of the case studies or whatever. We had to notify all the customers that, hey, I never sent Judd Dunagan, never sent this email. We literally caught, we set a trap. We put a portfolio piece on the website He contacted the email, my system admin, Mihai, set him up, found his IP, exact location. We got him banned from everywhere. But the point is like it's bad. I think crime in certain countries, that's what they do all day long. Like that's their full-time job.
You can't rob a bank anymore. You can't steal checks anymore. You can't like wash checks anymore, right? Now it's all digital. So the digital scams just get smarter and smarter.
Yeah. And it's like they used to go after big like banks and phishing emails with like big corporations. Now they'll go after the smallest company.
There's a whole like black market for Facebook accounts that are stolen. It's insane.
Yeah. Like even my accountant got the same type of thing happen to him. Like he sent an email saying, please do not respond to this email. And I'm like, what is it? It's everywhere.
Accountant tip. One of their inboxes got hacked. Next thing you know, all the customers received an email. Luckily, like I work in this stuff, so I kind of know. But they almost got me on a phishing email. It was a very well executed landing page that made to authenticate through Google, but it was very very well done. I caught it, but it was just very anyway. They're just getting smarter and smarter every single time. It comes down to like just customer education
Father-in-law, Ed, he clicks on anything and everything.
like that in their family. My dad's notorious for that too. One time I went to visit my parents. I called my dad. Luckily, I stopped it in time, but my dad was giving somebody a 2FA code for his Google account. And I'm like, what are you doing?
He's done that. He's actually let him into the account, like into the Microsoft, and Ed didn't know how to show him certain things, so he couldn't actually compromise them anymore because Ed's like, I don't know how to do this. I gotta call my son.
People don't know they're very, very good. They just get, smarter and smarter.
So we sort of pick a little bit, but basically Shopify easier, but WooCommerce is more flexible.
Shopify is like pure turnkey, but if you need customizations, you're gonna hit a ceiling pretty fast. Was the opposite of that. It requires a little bit of technical knowledge to get Woo going. Whether you're impressible or not, it doesn't matter. You still have to get a domain name. You got to know how to hook it up. You got to mess around with DNS records. For most people, that's not in their wheelhouse. Shopify Plus does give you some extensibility on checkout, but it's all like very like object oriented. There's only certain things that you can still customize. Um, if you want complex shipping logic, it's good, it's robust, but you got to stick by its rules. And that's all you get is what it comes down to.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's, I think it's kind of a 50-50 right now for certain users.
I never say one's better than the other. That's not the case whatsoever, in my opinion.
Customer or client that needs it.
Pretty much, yeah. It's all about asking the customer, hey, what are your long terms? Do you have a brick and mortar? Are you going to run POS? I lean more towards Shopify on that one because they natively have POS support.
Yeah, which is good in cases. But all right, so let's go on segment number 3, which is going to be questions on conversion rates.
All right, Judd, I got one for you. And this is another common one too. So my store's getting traffic, but nobody's buying. What's wrong?
Well, that's pretty common. So first, I would look at where your traffic's coming from. So make sure you have reporting in place. Make sure you have an event tracking in place. Before you can even ask the question, you have to ensure you have the right data to be able to answer the question. So I think a lot of times what happens on our side when something that comes up, we first want to address the reporting attribution and everything to make sure we can give the correct answer. Because a lot of times what happens, let's say someone gets a lot of bot traffic, or they have a particular market they're selling to, and none of the traffic's from that market. Well, there you go. It's not from the market. So that's one problem. But another problem is going to be, I think, conversion rate and the actual content, and what the page is set up for when it's looking at the, let's say, the buying persona. And if you look at certain things when you're doing advertising and you're really trying to squeeze that lemon, and you have a certain budget, and you really, let's say your ad campaign's pretty optimized. Like you can't do much more except take risk, which might actually cause you to spend more on a cost per lead or a cost per sale, the actual sale, then you kind of want to look at a few things. One's going to be site speed. The other's going to be product page clarity, trust signals, checkout friction, and all that can be looked at really, again, from your reporting and the data that you're capturing on the site. So if someone is on your product page and they don't understand it or find value within the first 5 seconds, they leave.
Yeah, you nailed it right there, man. A big one too is like people underestimate credibility. review videos, like demonstration of the product or service on a video. UGC, or user generated content, that's a big one too. This day and age, you can easily integrate, all the social media websites, TikTok, Instagram, Meta, or Facebook. You can drop them right on your product detail page or right on your homepage to show all their potential customers, like, hey, people are actually using this, and here's how it's used in real life, kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. So all right, for segment number 4, we're gonna talk about where traffic actually comes from. So Carlos, where should an e-commerce brand actually focus when it comes to traffic?
It's a great question. It's very simple. It's everywhere. Ideally, you want to try to capitalize on search intent, or high intent traffic from search, right? That you can do with SEO, or you can do that with paid campaigns such as Google Shopping, or Google Ads. That's sort of one segment, right? These are people that are ready to buy a product or a service. They know what they want. Then on the flip side of it, there's also discovery traffic, right? If you got a product or service that nobody's aware of, or maybe it's a product that is new to the market and nobody knows about, this is where social media sites like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, that's where they come in handy. You can create awareness about your product or service. And then last is really retention. So once they buy from you, how do you do repeat business, right? So that's when, like, your email and SMS campaigns, come in really handy and helpful, just to keep those touch points with your customer.
Yeah, I think you hit one of them that I wanted just to dive into a little bit, and that is, high search intent traffic. And one thing we've found is we have a pretty large client, and they spent a pretty significant amount of money on ads, Meta, and all that. But changing their website does require, it's a custom built, very for high traffic, and it does cost every time they want to change and do some, let's say, conversion rate optimization. The key thing is, if you want to do the right conversion optimization, having, let's say, that ad spend on that high search intent traffic is very important, because you can do conversion optimization on organic traffic and do nothing for you, because you're not actually getting the best quality traffic coming to your website. That's real people wanting to convert for your product or your leads. So always consider, if you do conversion rate optimization, very important to do test cases. So I'll give you a perfect example too, is like, maybe that's not even using it in the exact platform like WordPress. You're in your base build might be having a forward slash page that's not even in WordPress, that was easy to spin up just to test, in order to say, okay, I'm going to get a fast, results, test this design. And then once we test it, go apply the actual development for that. So it's a great way to, I think, designs parts of the site as well as test designs. Don't, I would, especially your e-commerce, don't ever just rebuild your entire e-commerce site without checking all the data and seeing everything that's working, because you might just rebuild it, and then it all goes to hell in a handbag after you like launch the new site. You're like, why am I not converting this thing? It's because it doesn't look anything like what you had. That's why.
That's a red flag. If you hire an agency to design your website and they're not looking at your history in terms of like traffic, that's a huge red flag. That's like 101 on redesign.
In a desktop, and don't even talk about mobile, and 90% of your visitors are from mobile.
Yeah, that's still a thing? Like, are people not designing mobile at all?
I would say 1 out of 3 people I talked to, when I asked it, did they give you mobile concepts for your last design? They say no. They only focus on desktop. And some clients are actually really adamant about desktop. And you got to tell them, like, hey, let's stop. Let's focus on mobile, because all your traffic's from mobile. Like, we're spending a lot of time to make desktop look good, and 10%, it's only 10% of your users. It doesn't make sense all that time.
We recently had a customer we took over development for. It's a custom application, and they had this huge list of items that they needed resolved. I mean, pages and pages of issues and bugs and complaints from customers, and we were just like, my gosh, where do we start here? Well, we kind of like narrowed it down to like, hey, where are most of your visitors? Are they on desktop or mobile? They didn't know. So our first step was to do Google Analytics and try to sort of like gather data and identify who the primary um, what the primary technology was to access the website, so we could just kind of focus on those points. All right, I got another one for you. Why is it becoming so important for e-commerce brands?
I think we hit it on the head on some of the other questions. I think they want to trust people and expertise. Having that content, whether it's product comparisons, tutorials, behind the scenes videos, showing what your brand is and who your brand is. Because I think for a long time, everyone was just kind of keyword stuffing their website with a bunch of keywords, not really paying attention to the content itself or the brand for that matter. And what AI, I think's done is pretty much said, hey, none of that content matters anymore. It needs to be about you, your people, your product. And if you don't have that, we're not going to rank you. So I think a lot of the shift has gone back to developing, I think, much better brand focus websites versus, let's say, product ease of use. It's getting more like showcasing your brand is gotten to be, I think, much more important. When it comes to the authority of that brand that customers want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just do a quick addition to that. Video that you posted years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, could still bring you customers till this day.
Yeah. Just look at, I think, so if we're going to go into video, right. And just what we learned, both me and you, when it comes to video and stuff, the more the merrier. I mean, content wise, content creators, they're creating video, maybe, every day, maybe 2 times a day until they prove it works.
Yeah.
Then they might tone it down. But the fact of the matter is, you're not going to get anywhere far with your creating content for your brand if you're not creating a lot of content for your brand. Like, you actually need to create enough to start figuring out what people like and want to see.
People like that. They like behind the scene videos, how the business runs, because it brings in transparency, and it sort of bridges the gap between the virtual and the physical world. You're not just buying from a website anymore. It makes you realize that you're buying from a real company that has a real warehouse, or the actual equipment to do whatever it is that they do, and how they do things.
I'm gonna give my son Liam Dunagan some real props there. He works for the Puentes Group in Miami, and they do flooring, have flooring clients, but they do a lot of stuff for the interior design type industry and stuff like that. And he loves to send me his videos that he's created when he does events and stuff like that. And it's pretty awesome. Like, and then he showed me over like time, like, it went from, hey dad, I got 100 views on my video I posted 2 days ago. Calls me up like 3 days there. Dad, I'm up to 5,000 views, and like, this is for a brand, like a brand's getting that. And it keeps going. Like, so you're right. Like, the age of those videos are being shared, and the style of it is pretty awesome. So I'm going to give them some props, and you're absolutely right. Particularly if you have something really cool to show that has like just taking a shot of it, makes it like that. That's all it needed. Like, that's a no brainer. Like, make sure your product gets out there that way. Okay. All right. So, our last, I say, and final question that people have asked is this is a big one because there's so many. What is the biggest e-commerce mistake that brands can make?
Okay. I can only tell you from the development and the marketing side, right? I can't tell you from like the fulfillment side, because we never get to see any of that. It's rare that we get involved with that, right? But on the front end, or on the digital media side, just trying to do too much at once. People launch a store, and then they want to run ads everywhere. And I mean, we tell people all the time, hey, here's how much you're gonna have to spend, and we're not sure if it's gonna work. It's better to just sort of launch like one one digital stream at a time. Maybe start out with Google Ads, or Facebook ads, measure that, increase traffic, max it out as much as you can, and then sort of move on to the next channel or revenue stream. It's important to get your store converting. Just master one channel at a time, and then move on to it.
Yeah, I think also one other thing is, think about it like when you go into Walmart, every aisle is there for a reason. They track every person walking in, where they go, and that's how they place stuff on aisles and things. So think the same way when you're merchandising your store or your e-commerce store. You have to think of the same way. Like, the user's going to come in, there's going to be a pattern, and you got to be able to show what you want to sell within that pattern. If you don't do that, you might get someone that will immediately leave your website. It's like just like someone walking into Walmart, not seeing what they want, walking out and going to Target. You know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of process. So you have to make sure you do that. You want to go with more on this?
I think we're good. Let's wrap it up.
Okay, so if you enjoyed this AMA format, let us know. We have a long list of questions we didn't get through, but we will in the future.
Yeah, I love this AMA because it's just like it's almost like it's like reels or TikToks. It's just like quick things that we talk about a few minutes here and a few minutes there.
Yes. And if you need help building or scaling your store,
You can reach to either one of us.
yeah, Bright Code or Bright Vessel. So, yeah, thank you for listening to our Bright Commerce podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time on our next episode, 28.